how is the ADN program different than the PN program?
So I was in the LPN program last year, and I went straight into RN, did full-time both. It's definitely a big adjustment studying-wise. You have to study for both, but content, I feel like, comes at you pretty fast in ADN. And, you have to figure out what way studying is best for you. Like, it could be note cards, it could be reading, it could be hearing information from other people to where you understand why they see it one way, and that might help you be able to understand it. But it's definitely a big adjustment. Probably the most would be studying.
More hours, that's for sure. More hours, and like she said, figuring out your study method, and not only figuring out your study method, but figuring it out somewhat quickly. We had more time in the part-time program because it's two years as opposed to one, but in the full-time, I can imagine that you'd have to figure it out pretty quick because those exams come fast.
For me, I felt like that they just expected a lot more out of us in the full-time, or in the program. And I felt like in PN, we just had a little bit more time to, learn everything. And I don't know, it was completely different. It was kind of like a culture shock, honestly.
Mm-hmm. I feel like with LPN, they kind of spoon feed you a little bit compared to ADN, and that's a big difference. You really got to get on the ball and get your crap together.
To me, I feel like RN was easier than LPN in a sense, because LPN, you're learning your basics. RN, you're really looking into the depth of everything. So it just depends on what kind of person you are. If learning the basics is harder for you, then LPN is going to be harder for you. If you're a more in-depth person, then RN is going to be harder for you. They're both hard, but at the same time, you can overcome all of them.
I think the LPN level was more task-based. It's rote memory, and then at the RN level, you have to understand pathophysiology and be able to interpret things. So I think that was the biggest difference.
What was the most difficult part of the ADN program?
If you're working full-time, figuring out your full-time work routine along with school, along with kids if you have them, just getting your set schedule.
Adjusting your personal life to school life.
I feel like what I feel is kind of building up on what she said as far as the difference between LPN and ADN. Your ADN, you have to focus on why you're doing the things that you're doing. You are the one in charge. You are the one that people are looking at, versus being an LPN, learning skills and learning things like that to be a part of a team. In the ADN program, you're learning how to lead that team, which is a big change from LPN.
And it's learning why you're doing what you're doing. That's the biggest thing, is connecting the dots from what you learned in PN and then what you're learning now.
Kind of building off from what they said, especially going from LPN to RN, I feel like it was a little bit difficult adjusting to that, because coming straight out of LPN and taking your boards, you were just taught how to think as a nurse, how to think as an LPN, and then going straight into RN, whatever you just learned, you have to kind of change the way you think, because there's different things that you have to do in ADN and different things that you have to do as an RN, and also it can be a little bit difficult as you're working as an LPN, you're in ADN school, you're like, okay, well, these are my limits. Like, these are my limitations. Even though I'm learning and I know how to do this, I still am only an LPN at the time.
What study habits did you have to change for this program? And I know I got a big one, starting off with this one. LPN school, I definitely struggled because I was in high school and I was usually a pretty decent academic student, didn't really have to study much. I kind of waited the night before or 2 nights before, just kind of like crammed it all in, very good at memorizing. And that's what I would say is a big thing I had to change, is realize that this nursing program, you can't just wait till the night before to study for an exam, or you can't just think that you're going to memorize everything, especially in the ADN, because the ADN, it's like you have to know what conditions look like and what symptoms, but then you also have to know, okay, how am I supposed to take care of this person, because you're the one making the decisions, and I would have to start, weeks out and study in advance. Otherwise, I was not going to be successful on tests or ATIs or any of that stuff.
And to echo what Madison said before, learn and learn quickly what your way of learning is. I always felt like I was a very visual learner. This last year has taught me, like, I read a lot and learned a lot from that, but I also reinforced it with the visual. So learn quickly how you're going to receive information.
Time management is huge. Like if you are I was in the part-time program, so I worked full-time, and you have to time manage. You have to write down, okay, or have in your head, I am going to work all day and I am going to go home and I'm going to study. Because if you don't set aside time to do it, it's not going to happen. And I mean, get a planner, stay organized, do whatever you have to do to make sure that you're going to make the time. Because if you don't make the time, it's not going to happen. And you have to put in the time and the effort. At the end of the day, it all boils down to your effort. And I mean, the instructors are incredible instructors, but at the end of the day, you're studying, you're the one learning the knowledge, you're the one taking the test. They can't do it for you. So
I was going to say the same thing about the syllabus and, like, planners. Like, you should definitely get a planner. That's one thing that I did was, like, once you get the syllabus, write out all the dates, all the tests that you have, put them in your planner so you don't forget. Another thing I was going to say is with each instructor, I feel like they all kind of teach you things differently. So there's kind of like a little bit of a learning period. Once you get to that class, you have to learn how you're going to learn from them and what's the best way. Like, for example, with Dr. McGuire, I felt like I learned really well through her lectures that she would post online. So I'd, like, listen to those in the car, and I felt like I got a lot out of those. But, yeah, just figure out what works best for you with each instructor. And like you said, always go to them. They're so good about, helping you and trying to give you advice on what will work best. So
they want to see you succeed just as much as you want to see yourself succeed. They're always going to be there for you. You just have to reach out because they're not going to know if you're struggling. I mean, right. They might see that you're struggling, but, I mean, you're in the program. There's just a lot going on, and if you're struggling, you need to reach out, and it, again, has to be in a timely manner because time goes by fast.
What would say to someone who's planning on working while in the program? And I know with our program being the part-time, it was a 2 years, so mostly everyone was working. I'm not sure about if that was the same thing for full-time and hybrid, but there's probably a lot we can say on that.
So for full-time, I feel like, it's definitely doable. There has been multiple people in the full-time this year that I know have worked full-time. It is hard, and, but if you have to do it, it's like what you have to do. It is manageable. That 9 months, you are going to have to be locked down, focused. Every time that you're not at work, you're probably going to have to be studying. From personal experience, I worked part-time while being in the full-time program. It was doable, and, I think it really just depends on the situation, also the job. A lot of people obviously would be working as LPNs, but it's hard, but, it's doable.
I think you just have to be honest with yourself about what kind of a student you are and, like, how much time you're going to put into it. Because, like, with me, that was a big factor that weighed into, like, which program I was going to do, how much I was going to work. And at the end of the day, I picked working and doing the part-time because I wanted to get some experience in as an LPN. But then I realized, I was like, I think I'm going to learn better and be more successful if I take a little more time to do a little bit longer for school. So I think at the end of the day, you just have to really look inside who you are and be like, what's going to make me the most successful?
And as you said, it varies. Each person is different. I was able to go through the full-time program also while working full-time. So I, in a 7-day period, would work my 312s in the ER as an LPN. And then I had clinic days, and then I had school days. And it was rough. It slowly got better. I think after a little bit, I kind of just adjusted to it and walking around like a zombie and not having sleep. And it eventually gets better and things lighten up. And then you go on and then you can look back and be like, wow, I did that. But you have to know your limits as well. Don't push it too hard.
And you also need to know your limits outside of school. So you're going to be committed to school. You know that you're going to be committed to work if you choose to work. it's okay to say no to people. It's okay to say, I can't be there or I can't do it. It's not that you don't want to be there, but it's okay to say no because you have to find your balance. And that's all right.
That's what I was going to say. Don't be afraid to put your lecture in your ear while you watch your kid's soccer game because priorities. You got to still prioritize your family while prioritizing school. So you just have to find ways to incorporate it into what you're already doing.
What strategies did you utilize to make yourself successful in this program? And talking about like showing up to class, did any of us miss class? Did it affect our grade? Things like that.
Cancel all plans. Do not miss class. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Don't miss class. Be there. Do what you have to do. Life happens. We know that. The instructors are wonderful. They will help you, but just don't miss class.
This has nothing to do with missing class, but I feel like this all ties together of finding a group of people. You can't do this alone. I mean, you can, but it makes it so much harder. Find a group of people that you know are going to support you no matter what, because you're all going through the same thing, and your family can support you and give you the endless love throughout the whole program. But they don't understand the stress and the time demand, the demand of the program in general. They don't understand it. You don't understand it unless you go through it. And to have people that are currently experiencing it with you and doing exactly what you're doing, they have the same deadlines, they have the same tests, they have the same clinics. Like, finding people to do it with you is huge because you all rely on each other and they remind you to turn your stuff in when you forget.
Yeah, I was going to kind of say the same thing. Just about the not missing class. I don't know if any of the other teachers did this, but I had a baby like right in January, and she said that if I didn't come to class, I was going to have to do like 400 NCLEX questions. So I showed up like 3 days later with my donut and all, and I didn't miss class, but I'm glad I didn't because I knew that I was going to miss a lot of lecture. Like, you would be surprised how much lecture you miss just from one class period. So I mean, it's so important to just be there. I mean, I've only missed maybe 1 or 2 classes and, you know, wished that I didn't that next period because I could just tell from talking to my classmates, like everything that we talked about, I was like, oh gosh, I'm already so behind. So yes, definitely just come to class every time.
Get yourself a group chat because you can keep each other in check. So on your first day of class, make sure that you get your group's messages or their numbers. Yeah, for sure.
Going off the missing class, if you do have to miss for an emergency, like from a personal experience, it was a test day and I had a family emergency. I pulled Dr. Hampson aside and I was like, hey, this is what's going on. I can stay and take the test, but like, could I leave after that? And she was like, you are in no shape, to take the test. Just let me know when you can. I will put it in the learning lab for you. They will work with you. They are very good about that. Don't struggle behind closed doors because if you're not open with them and you don't let them know you're struggling, they can't help you. And say I did sit for that test and I failed it and I got below a 70, there was nothing that she could have done for me after that. So just let them know if you have to miss class, if it's an emergency, reach out to them. They want you to succeed. They do. They want you to see you do the best that you can. And if you're struggling, just reach out to them. They want to help you.
I need to piggyback off of that because I do remember going to Dr. Hampson after I had my baby, and I said, I really don't want to come to our clinical day. It was like an all-day thing. And she was just like, yes, absolutely. Like, you need to go to your instructors because they do care. And she let me go ahead and repeat it that next year. Like, thank God I was in the part-time program. So, yes, always go to them. They are willing to help any way that they can. They do care about you.
Did anybody receive a level 3, and what did you do to prepare for it?
I guess I'll start. So I'm a level 2 queen over here. I've gotten 3 level 3s, but hey, it's 3. But definitely the dynamic quizzes, and the practice test. Retake them. If you're doing the dynamic quizzes and you're missing some, there's a mark option. Mark it, and then you can go back through and look over the ones that you had missed. Yes, read your rationales, do your focused reviews from the practice test. Those will help a ton. They even give you page numbers to look at in your ATI book. watch Level Up RN videos, watch Simple Nursing, you know, find those little tricks to remember certain diseases and the processes. It just, you know, I cannot stress enough doing the dynamic quizzes. I feel like that is honestly what prepared me a lot for ATIs. I gained a lot of information from that.
Your ATI books specifically, use those. They don't give them to you just for fun. Use them.
And that's what I would use, like, if I didn't know a topic very well. It's like, go there and just read everything they have to say, because those questions are coming from that book. Like, it's not going to come from really what you learn in lecture. I mean, a little bit, but it's going to be from the ATI books themselves. So just use them, yeah.
Yeah.
I think what helped me do so well on all of the ATIs that we took was when we were learning about, say, heart block. Any of the heart rhythms, any of the respiratory issues, any of that, go chunk by chunk in your ATI book. Do not wait until, oh, we have a pharmacology ATI tonight, and then panic and try to figure it out, or not tonight, the next day. Go learn it as you go, so then you don't have that moment of, oh my God, am I going to pass this? So that was the biggest thing for me.
And I feel like, too, just like not to how to like get a level 3, but in terms of ATIs in general, is to start as early as you can preparing for that. Yeah.
Start today.
If you think you should have started, then you should have started a long time ago, because they are big tests. They are scary. You're going to feel like you're having a heart attack during the entire test. And you get 2 tries. And I feel like I thought I was a failure if I would fail the first try and have to retake it. But you know what? It's probably going to happen. If it doesn't happen, great. You are a superstar. But if it does, it is okay to fail and have to try again. It does not mean you're going to be a bad nurse or a bad student. It's just,
Don't be so hard on yourself. That's one thing.
They're different tests that you've probably never had to take before, and so it's okay to have to learn and adjust and figure out how to make yourself successful on those tests for real.
Test anxiety. Get you a low-dose propranolol.
With the nutrition ATI, it is a very good resource for every disease process. So don't wait until a month before your nutrition ATI to break that out, because you could be using that every step of the way for all of your diets.
Clinicals, any advice for actual clinicals in the ADN program?
Do not be late for clinicals. Do not be late for clinicals. Show up early, show up prepared, show up all the things, but don't be late for clinicals. Take them seriously. If you are going to be late before the day of clinicals, make sure that you have the instructor's number in your phone so that you can text them. Don't email them, text them. Let them know if you get stopped by a train or if your car breaks down. Do not be late for clinicals.
If you are in a car accident and you DC to JC, just make sure you have he himself call your clinical instructor. Don't phone a friend. It's not going to work. It needs to be you or Jesus Christ.
Also, have your care plans and your nursing diagnosis book on you. You will need it. Those care plans on the back of it, man, good luck. Anyways, it's not bad, I promise, but you have to have your nursing diagnosis book and, like she said, white socks, and don't be late. This is where you need to utilize your group chats and make sure everybody is awake, because when you get close to the end, you're getting really tired, you're hitting that wall, you don't want to get up, you might snooze your alarm and not realize it, and then boom, that could be what, knocks you down. But the group chats, utilize them, make sure everybody is up in your clinic group, and again, don't be late.
Back to having a group of people that support you. Have somebody, even if it's just one person, that you have a checklist of everything that you need to bring, because I can't count how many times I went through the checklist and then I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, she did say to bring that. I did forget that. Oh, that's, in my car that I don't have or whatever. Just be prepared is the biggest thing. And make lists, stay organized, and don't be late.
Something we found helpful is if you are a digital planner, GoodNotes will allow you to collaborate with other students so you guys can all put things in and all hold each other accountable through GoodNotes.
I think another thing people don't mention about clinics either is like don't dread them, because they actually are more beneficial than I realized. Like, show up, be ready to learn. Like, your instructors will not think you're stupid for asking any questions or saying, hey, I've never done this before, would you mind helping me or showing me out? Because that's what you're there to do. You're there to learn from your teachers, and a lot of the nurses were great. I mean, some are a little cold to students, but that's all right. But the ones that aren't, they'll actually help teach you as well. And clinics were like way more fun than I actually thought they were going to be, with how much I learned and how much fun we had with our groups. So just don't dread them.
And one thing that I did, I don't know if it would be helpful to everybody or not, but I had one backpack, and that was for class and clinicals. I used one pocket on there for all of my clinical stuff, because you will have the stuff. All of my stuff stayed in there. I just switched out books. Like, whatever class I was coming to, I switched out the books, took the same bag all the time. That way I didn't have to remember if something was in one bag versus another. And back to what she said, don't dread the clinicals. I put so much pressure on myself thinking I needed to walk in knowing how to do these things and that I would look like a fool if I didn't. Let yourself look like a fool. It's okay. Like, learn from those things and let your instructors teach you through those things.
Taking care of yourself, and like talking about breaks, like Christmas break, spring break, Thanksgiving break, and like weekends, like advice on how to spend their time, what to do to take care of yourself, like keep yourself healthy, somewhat happy, somewhat sane.
I feel like all that just kind of took a step back. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I was not taking care of myself during this program. I feel like you kind of just have to put everything on hold. I mean, yes, keep yourself alive, but I mean, you can only do so much. Like, you're only human. I mean, you have to work to make money. You've got to take care of your kids. You know, all those things still have to happen. I just feel like a lot of that, for me, I at least just kind of got put on hold. But I knew that the end was near. Yeah. I knew that eventually, like, those things, you know, you could start. And that was kind of what kept me going, I think, was just knowing one day I was going to be able to hang out with my kids more and exercise again and, you know, get outside and not just stress about studying.
Big thing for me was to take one day at a time, because, like, especially when it comes to finals week at the end of the semester, you're super overwhelmed because you have 4 ATIs in 8 days or whatever it is, and you think about that and you're like, how am I even going to attempt to study for all those? If you just sit down and take one day at a time, that's what you have to do, because you can't think of it as an overall thing, because then you'll just get overwhelmed, and then you'll go into denial, and then you won't study, and then you'll fail an ATI, and then you'll feel like a failure even though you're not.
What I've learned, definitely being, you know, I love to sleep. I'm going to be honest. I love to sleep, and this program, you don't get a lot of it because you're constantly studying. And I've found that if you are exhausted and you are sitting there and you're like, I'm so tired, but I need to keep studying, take an hour nap. Take an hour nap, take that 2-hour nap, get back up, and then study for another 2 or 3 hours, because if you're sitting there and you are just so completely exhausted, you've had your 3 caffeine drinks today, and you can't go anymore, you're not going to retain anything. It's not worth it. You know, you're going to be sitting there, and you're going to be going over this information, and personally, I see, like, when I was studying for ATIs, I would get questions that I knew wrong, because I'm sitting there skipping over words, reading it wrong, and, you know, like, your body will tell you what you need, and honestly, you need to listen to it. And like she said, take it one day at a time. That's all you really can, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and time flies by so fast. Don't wish it away, because, you know, we just finished today, and it's bittersweet, but, you know, it goes by super fast. I feel like I just started the program, and now I'm done.
Best advice that you got while you were in nursing school, if you had any times of doubt or that you wanted to quit, what changed your mind, if you had advice that you wish you had before you entered this program ourselves, what would you wish someone would have said to you?
So I will 100% say, you can do this. Our orientation, I McGuire about it, but our orientation, we spent 4 hours being told how hard it is and the challenges we'll face and that it's going to be difficult, and she's not wrong, like, it is. But you can do this. Like, it's okay. You can do this. So I made her say something positive at the end, because I just felt like we had been berated for 4 hours with negativity. And so she came up with something, but I don't even remember what it was because I don't feel like it was really very positive. But at the end, we can do this, and you can do this, and it's going to be hard, and it's going to be tough, and all the things, but you can do this. We've all done this, and you're capable.
I think mine would be that no matter what, the time is going to pass, so you might as well do it. And you might as well have been working towards a goal, because in 9 months, you're either going to be like, it's done, it's over with, I don't have to do it again, or you're going to be like, why didn't I just do it? So just do it. The time is going to pass, and you can't get it back.
I feel like my advice would just be to, like, lean on your people. Like, we're all going through the same thing. We all have families that we're missing so much. We're all exhausted. Especially, like, that first 6 weeks, like, that was the hardest time ever. I don't know about you guys, but, like, the part-time program, we had class from 5 to 10 on Mondays and Wednesday nights, and we had all these packets and things to do. We were working, like, it was exhausting, and I really, truly thought, like, I just can't do this. But we all just kind of hung in there, you know, vented to each other, cried to each other. I mean, you're going to have so many of these ups and downs throughout the whole program, but just lean on all of, you know, your classmates, because they're all going through the same thing.
I would definitely say enjoy it, no matter what program, full-time, part-time, hybrid. Enjoy it, because you are going to spend year, 2 year, year and a half with these people, and you grow so close. Like, the bonds that you make in nursing school, if you would have told me that I would be leaving with lifelong best friends, I would have been like, no, I'm not. I'm here to get my degree, and I'm here to leave. Like, I need to focus on that. No. Like, I spent my time outside of nursing school with these people, and, you know, I would not have it any other way. And like she said, lean on the people, enjoy it. The time flies so fast, and as much as I was like, I'm not going to miss nursing school, I'm not going to miss nursing school, but I'm going to miss the people 100%. The people is what made it bearable. So enjoy it.
I think the advice I wish I would have got before I entered, not even just the ADN, but the LPN, is that make sure you are, like, mentally and physically, like, ready, matureness, all of that, because I think what I struggled with was that I just went into nursing school and I didn't have my priorities right. I was, you know, rather go out with my friends, or I wouldn't miss a function or a party or whatever it was. And that's where I found myself not doing as well in the LPN program and not making it out. And so if you truly are not ready to dedicate, like, all of your time and effort to grind and study and do well in this program, then this program is not for you, because these teachers are here and they want to push you and give you as much information that you can learn and make sure that you are the best nurse you can be. And that's something that I'll brag about, is that I went through easily one of the best nursing programs that around. Like, these instructors are so nice. They know what they're talking about. They will push you. They will help you. They will do everything they can to get you through that. So it's a great program. Like, you should be proud to say that you're a part of John A. Logan Nursing Program, for sure.
Absolutely. In terms of wanting to quit and overcoming that, every single one of us sitting here and throughout all of the programs, we have all wanted to quit. You are going to have the exact same thought come to your head, but you have to have the mentality. That's not an option. You just have to get through it. The finish line is there. You just have to get there. So as long as you have that mentality, you'll be okay.
She said I should tell you all this. This was our motto in the hybrid program. This was our pep talk before every test and every ATI, is you don't have the time, you don't have the money, and you don't have the energy to redo this again. So just hang in there. When you hit a wall, just remember, you don't have those resources. You got to do it. You got to do it now. Just hang in there. It's okay.